All right, perfect. Kilo 8 Alpha Mike Hotel, and I'll try and break every few so you can reset the timer. And feel free to jump ahead to the next slide. Just some background for folks. Bob sent out to ask for anybody that wanted to present, and we just had the National Traffic System exercise. It's like, well, I'm betting folks are interested. We're still working out the documentation on lessons learned and things, but I can give some quick highlights. And then for folks that aren't familiar with the system, I'm going to give a very high level, and then talk about why we held the exercise, kind of the first NTS involved one we've had in recent memory, how we went about carrying it out, and then some quick takeaways that we had. Go ahead and jump to the next one's just kind of a section slide just for separation. So traffic system at a high level is essentially a network of amateur radio operators that move traffic, or in this case, messages cross country. We've been doing it for over 100 years, and this is the relay in ARRL. So if anybody ever says, why is it American Radio Relay League? This is the relay. This is why the league exists. Got together to formalize how we get this information moved from point A to point B. Go ahead to next. Types of things that we move: emergency traffic, so life or death, priority, where not quite the bar of emergency, but we still got to get that information out of there. So you could think of, where am I sending survivors, or I need medication, or folks in this area are high injury rates, or things like that. Next is welfare, and that's probably the most common we're going to play in the traffic system during an incident. And that's, how am I doing? I want to let my family know, or families outside the area, and they want to know how their family members doing in that, that affected area. And then last is the routine traffic, the well wishes, the happy birthdays, the great to see us, those types of things. And that daily traffic's what helps us test the system 365 days a year, so that if we do have emergency, priority, or welfare traffic, then we just swap over and keep rolling with that. Go ahead to the next, and I'll break here. All right, so if you're interested in participating, dfwtrafficnet.org is the webpage to go to. We have 2 local nets here in the Metroplex every day, 6:30 p.m. on the Dallas machine, W5FC, and then at 10:30 p.m. on the Irving machine, WA5CKF. I've got the 2 meter for Irving, but there is a 1.25 and a 70 centimeter that are all linked together, the 3 of them. But again, if you head to dfwtrafficnet.org, that'll give you the details. Go ahead to the next one. And so why a functional exercise? That is actually a magic term. Functional exercise. Go to the next. This helps us evaluate system readiness. That's the real goal. Every day we're practicing, and so how can we create a scenario that follows how an incident would play out, and allow folks to practice. And so that was really the goal here, was to throw folks into a simulated but real world scenario, and then observe and throw a little inject here and there, and monitor how it went, and then we can take that and learn how to focus future trainings and things to strengthen the system later. Go ahead to the next one. This all kind of plays into what we've kind of dubbed here in North Texas as the traffic system incident response life cycle. And so the day-to-day, phase 1 is just the continual traffic movement that we do. Then phase 2 is the preparation. Something's starting to show up. Lately, it's been the hurricanes, where we start aligning resources and make sure everybody's on the same page. Phase 3 is when we actually go into the incident and we're live. And then phase 4 is the incident's winding down. That's when we start normalizing things and start focusing on learning from what happened in that incident, so that we can make things better the next time around. Go ahead to the next slide, and then I'll break here again and then go to the next one. All right, so for this exercise, we're kind of taking a crawl, walk, run approach. This is really something that's newer in the traffic system. I've asked around now that I've been in the role as section traffic manager for the last year and a half or so, and nobody could really recall in recent memory an exercise. So we're going to start with the crawl, get folks used to an exercise environment and the reporting and those types of things. We're going to move on shortly here to the walk, where we're going to increase the complexity and have multiple injects. And then as we move forward, we'll get into the run, where it's a much larger area. Already in conversations with South Texas and the West Texas sections on how can we start a statewide exercise for traffic handlers and that type of thing. But rather than go straight there and go into a sink or swim, we'll start with something reasonable, and we'll work our way towards it. Go ahead to next. And the way we're approaching this is what's called HSEEP, the Homeland Security Exercise and Evaluation Program. And this just provides a set of guidelines, principles for how to approach exercise planning and how to evaluate it afterwards. And I could really bore everybody with that, but go to the next one instead. So the timeline for this, back in September, I got together with the DFW Metroplex Traffic Net managers, and we started looking at what core capabilities we wanted to exercise and started developing objectives, priorities, and the scenario. October 1, we announced the exercise, published the player handbook and the IAP, the incident action plan, and then held a couple of pre-exercise meetings. I know folks here at Denton County areas met with them, some others. November 5, we conducted the exercise, and now we're in the evaluation phase to develop the after action report, which we're going to publish next month, where we'll identify action items and the improvement plan to start building what our training is going to look like going into 2021, and then exercise that down the road. Go to the next. I'll break again. So from an HC perspective, the core capabilities we tested primarily were communications, imagine that. Are folks following traffic handling protocols? Did they give us the information in the format we asked for? How are net control stations managing things such as requests to move traffic and emergency traffic? The secondary was situational, and so that's why we stood up the exercise dashboard. We wanted to visualize those reports coming in just so that folks could see how their reporting can help in an incident. But it is secondary because this is really something that maybe a GIS team, a Geographic Information Systems team, would manage. But for the sake of the exercise, we went ahead and did that on our own. Go to next. Exercise objectives. Again, just kind of what I touched on. So I jumped ahead a little bit on myself. Making sure folks are following established protocols for traffic handling. We're using the radiograms and the information's coming in the way that we asked for. And then the secondary, having the dashboard update in real time so that we could keep an eye on what the reporting information was telling us. Go to the next one, and this will help us explain what the exercise was asking for. We were looking for cellular connectivity reports. Was your cell phone working? The exercise simulation was that cellular networks in the Metroplex failed. And so we wanted reports on, is your phone working or not? Because this affects the ability of people to reach 911, right? You can't get a hold of emergency services. So yeah, we want to get the finger on the pulse of what's the effect of this technological incident. That's really what it comes down to. All right, go ahead and jump to, I'll break here for fun. So just some preliminary details. Go to next with the squares. We moved 34 pieces of traffic during the exercise window. 30 of them were the situational reports. We had 2 injects of emergency traffic, and then we had 2 responses to those emergency requests. If you go to next, this will show you the map that we were putting together, showing just where the reports were coming from. And in this map, these are the ones indicating that cellular service was working. And so the reports that are coming in really help paint the picture. And so this is what we wanted to demonstrate with the maps. The core was, can you get the traffic to us? But helping visualize it, I think, really helps. It helps show how we can come in and help. Go to the next one. We had 1 report of not working. So we did want realistic reports. So don't know if that one was like, hey, the phone really wasn't working, but we had one that they said, nope, not working at the moment. So on the map it goes. Go to next. This is just a call out of ARRL and RACES teams that stepped up. I didn't specifically ask as a section traffic manager for ARRL or RACES to jump on, but we had several of you, including those of you in Denton County, step up. And this is just taking a moment I want to say thanks. That's really what this slide is about. All right, go to the next one. Initial takeaways. We've got more, but these are kind of the ones that stood out. When net control is in a physical building and they're about to do a handoff to someone else that's physically there, that's easy. If we're going to do it over the air, from a traffic net perspective, we don't have a good process for that. So that's one thing we're going to start developing. We also need to get some good solid processes in for when folks cannot work the repeater. We did have a couple of folks that couldn't reach it, and in a couple of those cases, they did drop to simplex with another ham that participated, and they got it moved, which is what we would ask for, but we need to get some trainings on that and build that set of the skill set up. And then the last one here, we had a couple of stations that this was very much clearly the first piece of traffic they ever moved. And so I can't quote this enough. Once the disaster begins, the time to prepare ends. Coming up on 3, let me break and then I'll elaborate. Go back one if you would, please. I really want to call out the practice now, whether that's ARRL, that's NTS, that's Skywarn, you know, once we're in the incident, there's no time to learn anymore. We need to respond. And so it happens. It happens on HF nets. It happens local. Folks want to jump in and assist. The effective way that you can do that is to prepare now before the incident happens. In the case of traffic nets, someone comes in, they've never handled a piece of traffic ever. There's no time to educate at that moment, and it becomes a challenge is how I'll put that. So whether you're interested in traffic handling or working Skywarn or things, the time to prepare is now before those nets stand up and we need to run them. Okay, go to the next one. I mentioned the after action report improvement plan. We're going to publish that next month. That will outline kind of what went well, areas that we can improve on, and what the planning is to improve those things. And then we're going to use that as the guidelines to develop the trainings down the road. And once we deliver those, then we'll set up the next exercise to test against that and, you know, wash, rinse, repeat. Go ahead and jump to, for additional info, I've got a couple of links up on the slides, but the main takeaway is just dfwtrafficnet.org. That's the hub at the moment. You can go to the exercise webpage, which describes what we were going after. The exercise participant handbook and the incident action plan are still there. A link to the exercise dashboard is there if you'd like to see the data that came in. Along with the maps is a list of cities of where we got reports from. It's also broken down by carriers, so AT&T, T-Mobile, Verizon, if you'd like to get that. If you are interested in more details about the traffic system and the radiogram format, the next training I'm going to hold is Saturday, January 16th. That's 1/6, 2 p.m. local time. dfwtrafficnet.org has a link to that at the top in the banner at the top. So if you are interested, feel free to sign up. And of course, if you have any questions, you're welcome to email me. You can go to the last one. It's just a summary slide. Kilo 8 Alpha Mike Hotel at ARRL.net. And with that, K5AMH, Aaron, Section Traffic Manager, ARRL North Texas. Thanks much for the time. Again, thanks much for jumping in and participating on this. And hopefully I kept to the time. Back to you, Bob, K5AMH.
Thanks a lot, Aaron. That was very interesting.